Trauma is not what happened to us. It's what's happening inside of us in the absence of an empathetic witness. That is a powerful definition of trauma from Dr. Paul Conti, world-renowned trauma expert and author. Let's do a deep dive today, another Worth the Fight podcast, daily dose around trauma, around community, around healing in community, and the importance. We're not supposed to do this alone. And, I'm going to be sharing the benefits of therapy, a little bit about my experiences with therapy, the benefits of coaching, how to get the most out of coaching. And again, this journey is not supposed to be a solo journey. That creates mental health havoc. And that's why our world in collective mental health is in disarray. Many people are holding in their trauma, holding in their experiences without sharing it. And it's ricocheting around in their mind. It's creating dis-ease in their body and mistrust, all of it. When, opening up and sharing our truth. I know for me on my journey that was, raising my hand back in my early 30s, saying, hey, I need to get some help. I'm pretty fucked up and my behavior is out of alignment. This is not who I was raised to be. And, starting to take inventory about the past traumas, the childhood trauma, the childhood sexual trauma in my nervous system that was driving a lot of impulsive behavior. It was driving a lot of destructive behavior that wasn't sustainable. I'd gotten to the point where pretty much the writing was on the walls. I had to make some changes. And, that was a big step for me, reaching out to a therapist. I remember it took months. Because I was confronting the blockages in my nervous system. And our egos want everything to stay the same. So, of course, there's going to be some resistance. Thankfully, right now, it's 2026. We're in a time where people are talking about therapy. This is a little bit more mainstream. Tons of influencers are raising their hand and openly speaking about their journey with therapy and just very, very open about the benefits. Of course, plant medicines are very much a part of the conversation as well, meditation and journaling and all these self-care practices that I talk about ad nauseum on this channel, on this podcast. So again, the three benefits of, and I'm going to shift a little bit away from therapy into coaching. And I know on my journey, there was a point where the therapy no longer made sense. And, I sought out coaches. I remember while I was on my travel journey, 18 months with a backpack, I just left corporate America, and I reached out to my therapist, Cheryl. And it was no longer, excuse me, I got a little sweat drop. I just went for a run. It was like I'd outgrown that conversation. And, so it definitely felt like, and she didn't understand what I was talking about because I was having experiences with psychedelics. So having a psychedelic informed coach or therapist, if you're on that journey, I think is very, very important because there's probably a lot of things that I would have said where based on the clinical definitions and best practices in 2015, 2016, she might have said, you've lost your mind, but I clearly hadn't. Or maybe I did, to find myself and to find my purpose. And but at the end of the day, our interaction was no longer resonant. And it was time for me to move on. We had a couple therapy sessions, and then I was like, I got to find somebody who understands the path that I'm on. And I remember reaching out I was in an ayahuasca ceremony with Kaylee, my former coach, and she just had an incredible energy and lightness and just very strong, grounded, powerful feminine energy. And I had asked her to coach me. She wasn't even a coach at that time. She was thinking about it. She'd been through the Tony Robbins courses, and I was like, whatever you got, I want it. And she helped me with coaching for a year and a half. I worked with her. It was a wonderful coaching relationship, very beneficial, and lots of healing, lots of helping me harmonize my imbalances and my energies. Because I used to be really kind of raw into the masculine energies so much that it was toxic masculinity, and I needed help I needed an empathetic witness to see me, and to hold that space for me to course correct and to harmonize my energies, and we certainly did that work together, and then naturally, coaching containers, they run their course, and I had. A few years later, I had, or a few months later, it was another coach, Carla. I worked with her for a few years. Again, really strong feminine energy, and it was just really powerful for her to hold that space for me to continue my healing, continue the letting go, and again, harmonizing my energies, helping me see where I was missing the mark so I could course correct, and just somebody that I could trust and really, really open up to about my inner world, and to share without judgment. And again, I can't speak to how I can't put into words to how beneficial those coaching engagements. And I've worked with many, many other coaches. At this point, I've spent over $50,000 on coaching, and I swear by it. It's meant so much to me that I've dedicated my life to this craft. And but again, the therapy has a place in our culture. Psychiatry has a place, counseling, group counseling, all of it. There's all these different modalities, and I don't think that one is better than the other. It's just finding out what works for you and to go do that. But the three aspects of coaching that I think are what makes that stand apart are the accountability aspect. I start out my book, Worth the Fight, with this statement: the greatest distance in life is the distance between knowing and doing. Like, I felt as though, and I've been saying that in my mind since my 20s, like, I know what I need to be doing, but I just don't do it. And so having that accountability is really, really beneficial in tightening up that gap between knowing and doing. So if I can summarize the benefits of coaching, that's one of the key points, is accountability and tightening up our words, being in integrity in our words. If we're going to say something, we're going to do it. And if we didn't get it done for whatever reason, we're going to acknowledge that, and identify the gap and get back to work. So I just think that that's really, really important, the accountability aspect. I meet with my clients weekly. I meet when I'm working in a coaching container. Right now I'm not. I've got a social media guy that I'm working with, so it's a little bit of a different aspect, but I've got an accountability container, which I will share with you towards the end of this solo cast here, that might be beneficial and something I think all of us can do. So again, the accountability closes the gap between knowing and doing. Velocity, when I'm helping my clients get out of their head and into action. And I think that that's one of the most important aspects of coaching is that you can, we're saving so much time that would be spent ruminating and these dubious thoughts and doubts and worries and fears and all this low vibrational energy, when we can just be open and raw and real and to work through and obliterate that blockage, whatever it is, in real time, and to get out of our head and into action. I put out a solo cast around start before you're ready. We learn 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times faster when we're in a state of action, as opposed to waiting for the perfect moment. There is never a perfect moment. We just dive in, start where you stand, you do what you can, and then we improve as we go. Again, we learn 100 to 1,000 times faster while we're in a state of action. We're moving, we're getting data to work with. There's lots of data in our failures, in our mistakes, and where we're missing the mark, if we have the courage and the awareness practices to acknowledge where we're missing the mark. Again, it's just data for us to work with. And it's imperative and it's fundamental to the growth path. The failure is a part of it. And it's, dive in. And again, we're learning so much faster when we're in a state of action. The wisdom that we get from a coach or a therapist or a counselor, somebody who's been on their journey, for a decade, for 2 decades, have years and years of experience guiding others. They have the way, they have the shortcut. It's not going to be easy, but they can help you get to that destination in a more accelerated time frame. That's why I wrote my book, Worth the Fight, so I can help people get to where I'm at 10 times faster, because I made all the mistakes back in 2015, 2016, 2017, when there was no coaches out there. There was very few people doing this work. I didn't have anybody to work with up until I think it was about 2017 when I started having a coach, and that started to accelerate my process. But there was a lot of just learning by trial and error, and I felt a moral duty and an obligation. Hey, man, you got to put together a book. People are going to struggle with ayahuasca. They're going to struggle with psilocybin. They're going to struggle with integrating this experience into the day-to-day. And integration means to make whole. And, so often we have these deep, profound experiences, and we don't know how to make sense of them. We don't know how to apply that to our daily lives. And so often we can have a visionary experience. We can see, I know on my journeys, I saw the best version of myself. And then I was like, oh, geez, well, how am I going to create him? Well, I created him, and I'm certainly a work in progress. And I do that in the day-to-day. Each day I show up in meditation and prayer, journaling my thoughts. Each day that I go to the gym, each day that I move my body, and I get into the cold plunge, and I do the sauna. And all these things that I do to test my spirit. And all of those are integration strategies. Each day, the clients that I serve and the impact that I make in my personal life, all of it's related. And, it's how we're showing up in the day-to-day. Because we can have these big insights and these revelations and these epiphanies and all this inspirational goodness, but it doesn't really mean much if we're not applying it into the day-to-day. Working with a coach or a therapist, it's going to cut the learning curve. It's going to shorten the learning curve, and it doesn't make the journey any easier. Maybe a little bit easier. It's still going to be difficult. It's still going to be challenging. But again, somebody that's been there, somebody that can map the predictable pitfalls can be such a blessing. They can, again, save you a lot of time. Because again, when I was on this path without a coach, there wasn't much guidance. It was really, really hard. And those challenges were salient enough, gripping enough for me to be like, hey, whoa, these are key points. These are pitfalls. And after having hundreds and even thousands of conversations with other people that are on a similar path of consciousness, it was easy for me to map out the predictable pitfalls. So I do encourage you to check out my book, Worth the Fight, at worththefightbook.org. And hopefully this will inspire you to potentially take action on finding a coach, potentially reaching out to me, or another coach or therapist or guide that you know. And because, again, we're not meant to do this alone. We're not meant to heal alone. We're not meant to grow alone. We do this in community. And it's so much better to be, we're social animals, social creatures. So doing this work with a trusted ally that can see you and can be that empathetic witness for the pain you feel inside can be so beneficial, and it can help to liberate that energy and to process that. As Dr. Gabor Mate says, we can liberate that energy of trauma into the energy of life for greater self-love, clarity, and connection. So if you're on the path, you're on the journey, and you're doing this brave inner work, I invite the possibility that we could shift the frame on our traumas and that trauma, that thing, that pain in your heart might be the greatest blessing in your life. That might be this greatest storehouse of untapped energy. Again, that we can liberate that, free that from our nervous system so we can have more bandwidth for creativity, for joy, for vibrant health. Our bodies work so much better when we process the trauma. We don't have that constant cortisol drip and the stress of these ruminated thoughts that are continually like waves crashing against the seaboard, continually crashing against our mind. We can start to free up that energy and to process that for new aligned blessings to come forth, what I call priming prosperity pathways. So that's why we do the inner work. The inner work is what moves the needle and can again make life rich and prosperous beyond words. I want to share a strategy. Let's say that you have no interest in getting a coach, or you're not in a financial position to do that. Coaching can be really expensive. My coaching fees are getting pretty high right now to match the incredible breakthroughs that my clients are having. You might consider getting an accountability partner. This is something else that I've been doing for the last, I'd say 5 years or so. I've had at this point, I think 5 or 6 accountability partners where we have a weekly standing meeting where we get together, we set intentions, we set a container for, and a container is this like spiritual word for this. Of course, it's not a physical container. It's a metaphysical based on agreements and our intentions. So, we're meeting on a weekly basis and with the intention of growing, with the intention of holding each other accountable, helping each other through our respective blockages, etc. And that can be extraordinarily powerful. And I think this is really important. And I learned this from my mentor, Akshay Nanavati, who wrote the book Fearvana that was endorsed by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Akshay is a big proponent of these accountability partnerships. And again, they've been extraordinarily beneficial to me. I meet with my accountability partner. We meet on a weekly basis he's here in Miami, so we're getting together for coffee for an hour, and we basically split up the time, 30 minutes for him and 30 minutes for me. Some days I talk a little bit more, some days he talks a little bit more, and it's basically like an intentional social catch-up where we can get together and we're checking in about our accountability from the week prior, and we're setting intentions for the coming week, and we're holding each other to that. So it's not just lip service, but this is an opportunity for us to work through our challenges, to share our challenges, what came up during the week, to help process anything that might have come up. And so again, that it's just a really intentional hang, essentially. And when we're not getting together in person, we will set time for just a 20-minute tight conversation, 20 to 25 minutes. If it starts getting longer than 25 minutes, then this gets to be kind of annoying, and it could be disruptive potentially for our respective schedules, and the sustainability of this might not persist. We might say, hey, whoa, this is becoming too, it's not focused. So at that time, we will have 5 to 10 minutes. Each of us will get an opportunity to share, and then we get basically a 3 to 5 minute reflection from the respective person who's listening, and we each get a chance to go. And that can be, again, really, really beneficial. This is tightening up, again, the greatest distance in life between knowing and doing. So having that accountability where we're putting out bold intentions, and then we're having to hold ourselves accountable a week later. How did we do? How did we show up? What were the blockages? What got in the way? And so that, again, this is going to create velocity. This is going to create a lot of speed where we're, again, in a state of action, and we're out of our head, we're into action. So hopefully you found value on this. We can do this for virtually anything. I have a lot of mindful friends that I'm getting together with on here in Miami Beach, where we get together once a month, and we'll get together on a theme. I have another friend that we get together on the theme of dating, love, and romance. And we'll get espresso and we'll sit and we'll meet for 45 minutes to an hour, and we'll share what's going on in each other's dating lives. And it's a wonderful opportunity for brotherhood, for conscious connection, for us to talk about, set goals. And sometimes the conversation deviates and we'll talk about business or other things, personal challenges that might pop up. But I think that this could be potentially a new or an aligned roadmap for the times that we're in right now, and an invitation for you, the listener, to potentially marry the social connection with your goals, with your passions, and maybe you invite someone out to coffee and you hit it off and you say, hey, let's have a standing, first week of the month coffee where we can set intentions around whatever your passion might be. Hopefully this helps. I'd love to hear your thoughts and impressions. If you've had experiences like this, or if I missed anything, but I think that this could be something that could be an antidote, could be a blessing for our world. We're in a loneliness epidemic. We need more social connection. We got to ditch the screens, get back to in-person living, and I think that everyone's hungry for that. The screens have fractured our attention. They're fracturing our culture. And yeah, there's some blessings online, but I think that it's causing more harm than it is causing benefit. So let's push back against bullshit incorporated and start getting back to what was lost in these last many years since the pandemic, what we've lost in terms of social connection and isolation. So we need more social connection. We need to push back against the isolation, against the loneliness epidemic. So again, hopefully this helps from my heart to yours. For more on the Worth the Fight mission and message of hope and healing, check out worththefightbook.org. Till next time, love and peace. Thank you for watching.